Welcome back to Javo's Garage, and thank you for continuing to join me here with video 2 of my 3-part video series where I'm doing a full interior detail here on my 2004 Ford F350 crew cab, and we're pulling the entire interior out, detailing it, and putting it back together again. Now, in this video here today, we're going to be taking care of the headliner, we're going to be taking care of all the side trim pieces, as well as along the back, and we're going to be getting the carpet put in. I'm going to provide you with a lot more detailed information. Let's keep our project going. Well, it's been about a week now, so I know my headliner's nice and dry, my carpet, my seats, and I'm ready to start putting things back in, and I'm impatient. I'm ready to get this project done. Now, one of the reasons I've waited a week to do it was I had to do the repair to my sunroof, so I had to take all this out, do the repair, get it put back in. I will have a video on that. I'll link it in the description when that becomes available. I also had to do a repair to my rear power sliding window, as well as I had to do some repairs up in my dash, and I also did like an installation of my CB radio up front. I also replaced my rear view mirror with a new electronic rear view mirror that has forward and rear facing cameras and blind spot detection, and it's really neat. We may go into that a little bit later when we're all done, but for today what we're looking to do now is let's get the headliner put back into the truck. Now, they're really light, so they're easy to maneuver, except for the fact they're just big. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back in through the front door at an angle again, kind of twist it and set it up in here. Now, what you can do to kind of help just hold it in place while you get fasteners in is use this rubber seal that goes here around your doors. And what I'll do is initially is I'm going to loosen them up like this. Hopefully you can see that there, and I push it to the outside. Then once I set the headliner up in there, I can just come in, take this, maneuver it, put it back in there, and these lips will just kind of help hold it in place while we go ahead and start putting our fasteners in. Now, initially what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the video kind of back where you're at, maybe even a little further, just so you can see me getting the headliner back in the cab. Space is really limited. Then once we get it in the cab, I'll try and move the camera up closer and give you a shot of it as I get it pushed up into place and start putting the fasteners in and get it secured. So as you can see, I actually have it now into the truck, and I have it sitting flat in the way it's supposed to be going in there. It took a little bit of work, but it wasn't too bad there. I ended up taking the weather stripping off of both the front door areas. It just seemed to give me a little bit more room to slide it in there, made it go much easier. So now that it's in, I'll put the weather stripping back up, and then I'll move you up closer so you can get a better shot. We'll go ahead and just start setting it up into place and putting the weather stripping on so that it helps hold it in position. This is just a few shots of my headliner and how I had it positioned in my truck and ready for installation. So I'm not sure if you can see me. This is the best camera angle I'm going to be able to give you for this whole project here. So now what we have to do, the next thing is we have to get over the steering wheel here. And so I'm going to bring the back up a little bit, try and bring it up and over, and then you'll see me here in a second. We'll lift it up into position and try to start setting some of our weather stripping in place. There we go. That's not so bad. So there we go. So I kind of have it just being held up lightly in place now with this weather stripping. Let me move out of the way. all the way around. So I have it up over there, it's up over along here, and on this side, and it just kind of helps hold it in place. So now what I can do is I can start putting in my different items that help hold it here in position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my two handles that go roughly here in the middle, because then that way it'll help just support the whole thing and hold it up, and then we'll do the other handles and then just work our way around after that. So this here will just be a more up close shot. As you can see, I don't have any of the fasteners holding in my roof. There you can kind of see how the weather stripping holds it. Same thing along here. So the weather stripping kind of, oh, there we go, sorry. So the weather stripping kind of holds that in. By the way, I'm aware, got a little bit of a dip there where my liner kind of came loose. I'll show you how I'll fix that here shortly. That kind of happened. That's one of the possibilities you can run into when you wash the headliner, but we can get that corrected, no problem. But anyway, I just wanted you to be able to see that it is being held up, see right here, with just that weather stripping. Nothing else has been installed yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install our first OS handle, and it goes in right up here. By the way, if you look on the back of these, on this side up here, it's going to be marked with an L and an R. L is left hand or driver, R is right hand or passenger. These are secured with these black hex head bolts, and these are a flange head bolt. These are 8mm. We'll go ahead and get those installed. So I just have this loosely set, and I don't want to tighten it down yet because I want to align my coat hook that goes here and then just the other grab handle that goes back here, and just make sure all the holes line up okay before I actually attach it. Now here for your coat hook, this has these little prongs here in the back. It just pushes there into that hole, and then there's a Phillips fastener that is here, and that one you'll just screw into that, and what it does is as you screw that in, it opens up those prongs inside and that locks it into position. And then here on the back you'll have your other grab handle here. You're going to end up having 3 grab handles. 2 of them are going to have the black fasteners that you see here on here that have the 7mm, and one has like some gold fasteners on it. That one goes up on your front passenger area. So we'll go ahead and start to set this grab handle back in here before we tighten all these down in their sequence. Once I get everything done, I'll go back and we'll put the little caps here on. I'm actually missing a few, and so they're not all going to get covered. I'll have to find some online and get them ordered. But for now, these are in, and our headliner is nice and secured here on this side. Let's move over to the passenger side. Once again, we're going to install our OS handle goes here, our coat hook here, and then our grab bar goes in here, and we'll just kind of take our time and get these set up in here. Don't forget the black 8mm fasteners go up here, your Phillips head goes here, and then your 2 7mm go back here with your grab handle. So here is my overhead console that has my display. Unfortunately, over the years, both of these clear covers broke, and I'm having a heck of a time finding replacements. But the purpose of this here real quick I wanted to show you is, and this here is my display. Let me bring it in closer. I don't know if you'll be able to catch it actually in the light. You can see it's just kind of scratched and dull. from over the years. And so what I want to do is make that look really nice and new again. And so what I do when I'm dealing with stuff like this is I just have my drill, and it has my polishing pad on it, and then I just have my Meguiar's Pro Speed compound here that I picked up. Actually, this one I got from Harbor Freight. And I will put a little bit of that here on my drill pad, and I will just run that across the face of that for a little bit, and it will come out beautiful. It'll be shiny. It'll get rid of most of the scratches, unless they're really deep. Oh, that looks much better. Let's see, hopefully, see how better that looks now? It looks like brand new again. So that's a great way to go through and clean things up like this and make them look better. You know, I do stuff like that. I've done that like on the face of radios before. Anything that's like a clear plastic that you want to restore. I'll also, and hopefully I don't bump the camera here, but I'll be doing that on these plastic pieces on each of my door panels as well, because it takes out any blemishes, it polishes it up, puts a nice shine on it, and then I'll put a little bit of ceramic on it, and it'll keep that shine for quite some time and help keep dirt and fingerprints off of it as well. Since I had a little bit left on my pad when I finished up with that screen, I did go ahead and just hit the body of this and hit all the buttons, and it just brought a beautiful shine to my overhead console and got it cleaned up. I hope you can pick up on that there. Look how clear that display is now, and just the console itself looks better. It's clean, and it's ready for us to go put that in the truck. Your overhead console will actually connect into. Now, when you install it in the truck, it's gonna go in, if this is the front of the vehicle, it's gonna go in, you have these two tabs here, and then this kind of a indexing tab, if you will, and you'll push it up into the truck. And then you'll have two fasteners that are a T20 that go in here that secure it up into the roof. Here's where that piece goes in our overhead console. Now the black piece I was showing you, let me bring in a little closer here. This here is where that little indexing tab will go in, and then those two push-in style fasteners or push-in tabs will go in here. Then if we look back, let me see about pulling this down. Nope, can't see it that way. So if we come in right back there, that's where the other fastener is, and then if you come across here on the other side, back up in here, there'll be another one of those that T20 fastener goes in over here. So what I have done to help make this go a little easier is I did go and remove the weather stripping that's kind of holding the front up a little bit on the sides, and that has given me some extra room in here to hopefully make it better. So now I have my piece here, and once again we want to make sure these tabs and this front go into that area, and I think with the space I have, I'm just going to go right up through here, and we don't want to get our wires from the factory or the new ones that I have caught underneath it, so I'm going to make sure we're clear. And you kind of hear that kind of clicking sound. And that's how we know that we are where we need to be. Now, what I do is I have my wiring for both my new mirror and my overhead consoles coming out here through the middle. What I hope to do is just bring the wiring for the mirror straight out through the front, and then naturally the one for the console will just get pushed up in there. So now that I have that done, I'll add the two fasteners on that outside edge that I had showed you before. I think it'll be easier for me to start those by hand. So here is that new piece. So right up here, and I'm sorry my sunroof's kind of in the way, that's where the one fastener is. That's where the other fastener is. I'm going to tighten them up now. This here is my wiring that's coming out down through the middle. from the factory, and then this here's the one that's going to my new mirror. You see it right there. There we go. Now I can go ahead and set my headliner back up into position a bit, running our wiring, and now I can use my weather stripping back on the edges to hold it up again. There we go. And we're looking good there. I'm going to move across in front of you here so I can do the weather stripping over here. So now that helps hold it into position for me, and we're looking good. So everything's all in there now, and we're up there tight. Now this here is where our sun visor attachments and whatnot will go. So how this works is you have the 4 tabs. I'll give you an up close shot. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs that interlock with the 4 openings on that piece we just put in. We're going to plug it in. Now we'll go ahead, we'll kind of tug that in, and you'll just push it up in there. And I understand it's hard to see where that goes. And what I did is I just kind of pushed it up, and you can start to feel it line up, and then kind of, as you saw, just gave it some taps. Next up, I'm going to install our little visor clip, line those up. And the reason I did this first is because that way, once I get this secured, I can just kind of lock it in over there, and it'll help hold it in place for me. First thing we're going to do is plug in and test it real quick. Of course, the key's been off, so I can't do that. We're going to assume it's good. So we're just going to line that up. I'm going to tilt this forward a bit and install our first fastener. Just click it like that. Now see, that's what I mean. That kind of holds it in place for me. Now I can come in here, and I'm gonna have to move this kind of out and back so I can get to our other one. And our first visor's installed. Alright, so now I'm going to do the driver's side. We have the same concept here again. I'll get my 2 fasteners out. I did go ahead and feed my wiring harness through here. I'll put my clip in up over in here. Then we'll install the visor. We don't have a handle over here because it's a driver's side. So all we have to do over here is this visor. So now the next thing on our list is to go ahead and install our courtesy light back up here in the back of the cab. Now on the back side, there's a plug here. I'll give you an up close shot of it, and we'll go ahead and plug that in. And it makes for a tight fit. And there we have it. And then that just sits up there. And then we have 3 fasteners that go in there that secure it, and I'll give you an up close shot of that as well. By the way, there's an indexing tab right here that lines up with the hole up here so that you know that you have it set right and that it's lined up properly. Now this is held in place with 3 Phillips head fasteners. So I'm going to get that ready. And we're secured. Last but not least, I'll go ahead now and install my cover. And you want to make sure these little bezels here that are specialty for that specific for these map lights are lined up. And so you have the two tabs, you'll just put those in the back side, bring it up to the front and kind of squeeze it and just push the tabs into place, and we're done there. Now the other thing we have to do is we have a hole here, we have a hole here, and those had these fasteners that you see here that push in. Now mine was missing it, but you have another hole that's here for another fastener to kind of help hold your headliner here in the middle, and mine was missing it. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to borrow one of these two and put that one in here, and I'll put one of the tan ones here, and I'll put a black one in here. I have an extra around here, and then I'll try and find a replacement, and when it comes in I'll put that in there. In fact, probably what I'll do is just order all three and replace them, but it's what I have to deal with for now. Unfortunately, the barbs are gone on these tan ones. So let's try a black one. This will just have to work for now. And there we go. That's holding that in place. So now we have all of these done. Now we need to address our opening for the sunroof and get that secured and get our seal put in. So the last part of our headliner project is to install this trim piece that you see here back around the opening, and it has like this groove in it here. So what it will do is it will go between the headliner and the opening for the sunroof, and it kind of secures them and holds the headliner in. Now I had talked about earlier, unfortunately when I did some cleaning, I had my headliner kind of come loose a bit here, right here in the middle. Now quite frankly, what I was possibly thinking of doing is taking some 3M spray adhesive and putting it up in here and kind of pushing that down. And to be real honest with you, unfortunately, I can't find it in the shop right now. And I want to get this kind of done today. What I've noticed is it's still kind of sticky. For whatever reason, it didn't stick to it there initially. It did for a few days, but as it sat, it kind of started to come loose. So my plan here today is I'm going to pull this and get it kind of snug, get it pushed up on there. I'm going to push the trim on. If for some reason it starts to come loose or sag or it doesn't look the way I like, I will get the 3M spray adhesive, and what you would do is you just kind of spray it up in there. You let it sit for like a minute or two, a couple minutes, and it gets kind of tacky, and then you can kind of go in and touch that up so it holds into place. So this is what we're going to do for today to at least get this going, and we're just going to install this, putting this groove around. I'm going to put the connection where they come together. I don't know if you can see that on the back end, and so basically we're going to pull that and do our best to get that up on there. But what I think I'm going to do, especially with what I'm dealing with here, is I'm going to start in the front so it kind of helps hold it in place. And I'm just going to pull these down, and you'll see it kind of was a little goofy up here to begin with. I'm going to open this to make it easier, and here on the sides as well. But what we're going to do is we're just going to take this. Now I'm trying to do this upside down so I stay out of the way of the camera. And as I look at this, quite frankly, it appears as though one side of this has a wider lip around here than the other. So I'm going to put the wider lip facing down naturally. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of folding it kind of up onto it and then pushing it in so it tucks that headliner up underneath it. I don't want there to be any kind of creases or anything, and it's going together well. I hope you can see that there. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to pull this up to here and kind of start it, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to pull it again and kind of start it. It's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy so far with that. And And what I'm going to do, this is coming out good, but what I'm going to do to help in here is I'm going to go grab one of my trim tools so I can kind of push up on it as I come across, and I think that should get us done here real good. I'll be right back. So now I just have my little trim tool, and that way I can kind of push up on it like so, and tuck it in as I go along. And that seems to do really well. And there we have it. And all things considered, I'm actually really happy with that. I hope you can see it from your angle, but we have no creases. There's no sagging. Everything looks good. I mean, naturally the top itself moves a bit, but between having it secured there towards the back, oh, broke my glove. And we have this around all the way, make sure it's pushed on real good. And on that note, we can call our headliner installation complete. So we are now ready to go ahead and get the carpet installed. I'm really happy to be at this point. Things will go really quick now from here on out. It should go pretty fast. So I have all of my lines here run down the center that are going to be under the carpet. Now these are non-factory items. One of these is my antenna cable for my CB. The other one is a power and negative that I'm running into my center console, and I have a fuse panel that I've installed there. I'll show you that more later. That's going to power up my CB and a USB port that I installed. And then I have a third line, and this is the power that's going to run from my center console back up to my CB. So those are aftermarket. Don't worry about those in your case if you don't have anything like that in your truck. So we are ready. I'm going to go get the carpet. We'll get it slid in here. So now we're ready to go ahead and put our back panel in and put our trim panels here along the back. Now it's kind of layered in that you want to put the back panel in first, and then these side panels go up against it and kind of help hold it into place. So the first thing I want to do is just remove the bolt here from the top from the seat belt so it's out of the way, and I only have it held in with a couple of threads at this point just to kind of hold it up out of the way while I dig the carpet. So I'll take that off and just set that down here. And now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to slide that backer piece right here into position. Now as I do this, you'll see it's got these holes. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are for some plastic fasteners that you'll push through into holes naturally that are there into the back. And then on the sides there are 2 holes to put fasteners. Quite frankly, mine did not have those fasteners in it, but I found some. I have a box of them in the garage, and I'm going to be adding those here to it. And then we have 3 spots here for our seat anchors, and we'll put those in as well. And so what we'll do is just start to kind of slide this into position, get it past the seat belt, and it kind of hooks onto the back, if you will. And there we're pretty close. We just want to tuck it in along the back side. And that's looking pretty good. And we have our holes lined up here, so I'm going to go ahead, and they're the little tan fasteners. I'm going to go ahead and put a few of those in. And there we go. So I'm over here, I'll tuck this side in, like so, and along the back. And we're looking good there. So what we can do while we're waiting is go ahead and install our anchors, and it has like a tab here, and that goes in the opening down there, and then you have your fastener that secures it. These are a T45. And we'll tighten these up here in 1 second, but while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and put my fasteners in these 2 holes here. And so we have our fasteners in, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten up our seat anchors real quick. Once again, they're a T45. Next, we want to put our trim panel in that goes along here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull out my weather stripping. And then here is my trim panel. And there are 8 fasteners. You have one here, you have one here, 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 and here that go into the openings here on the panel. Next, we need to feed the seat belt through the opening. Almost there we go. And now what we'll do is just line these up and then tap it into position. And one thing with these, I can tell you what you want to do is really take your time and just look and make sure that they're kind of lined up before you just go bashing them. That's what a lot of people do, is they'll just start beating on them thinking they'll go in. Well, if you don't have it perfectly lined up, you're going to bend the tab and that's not going to fit right. So you shouldn't have to beat on these. You should be able to just kind of squeeze it in, and maybe once you get it kind of set, you can tap it, but you don't need to beat on these. See how I just pushed that in? Now, the one that, if anything, you'll have to tap on will be this back one over here, because it's a plastic fastener, it's not a metal one. So that one you may have to give it a tap to get it into position. But as you can see here, I just kind of lightly pressed on that, and these here are all in their position. I can go ahead and put my weather stripping back in, and now I'll tap on this back one. Did you see how that went in? And that's holding up our headliner. See, I'm just lightly tapping it, nothing drastic there. I'm now going to go ahead and install this fastener. This one here is a T50, by the way. And I'm not going to do the bottom quite yet. I want to get the seat put in before I do this, just so it's kind of, I'm able to move it out of the way and make life a little bit easier. And we'll go ahead and lock that tab down. And this one's good. This is all done except for attaching it here along the bottom. Like I said, we're going to hold off on that. So let me pause our video now and let me move you, and I'll go do the other side, and then we'll move here to the center pillars. So we're almost done on this side. Actually, we did most of the work already. The only thing we need to do here real quick is we're going to loosen up this fastener and get it out of the way for a minute. Just set it down here. We're going to put our 2 little fasteners here in on these ends. So now what we're going to do is we're going to install this trim piece. It has the 8 fasteners on here again, and you're going to line those up with it just like we did the other side, and just push those in. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and put our center piece, our center trim piece here on our pillar. Now with this one, the first thing we're going to do is just kind of pull this weather stripping again and move it back. I'll do that to the front side as well. We'll just set that like that. Now we want to undo our seat belt. It has this nut that's up here. That's a 15 millimeter. We'll kind of just set that here to the side for just a second. And so now that we have our trim piece here, and by the way, these are marked. If you look inside of here on each one, it'll say LH or RH, left hand, right hand, and so this one here is our LH. And what you want to do is feed your seatbelt through this from the bottom. And then feed all the pieces and the clasps through it. And then when you're done with that, it's really important that you go through, and you probably can't maybe see that from your angle, but you want to make sure that your seat belt is straight. You don't want it twisted once you get this all put back together, or you're going to have a problem. So now what you do is you're just going to kind of lightly start to set this into position, working around the different wires. And then we're going to have to work around the handle up top here, and gives us a little bit of problem, but we'll get through it. It would probably have been easier in retrospect to do it without the OS handle on up there, but we're good. And so now what we want to do is just kind of look through here and make sure we're getting all of our pins lined up with the holes. And then once we do that, kind of like what we did with the rear, we can just slowly start to press those in. Just like so. That's looking good. That one's looking good. Let me move to the back side. Now, what we can do is just double check that we're lined up here. Let me get my flashlight. There we go. Now that pushed in. And we'll do down here. And we look good. Looks like we had that there. Did you hear it click in? So we're good there. So real quick, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall my trim piece here. My weather stripping. I'm going to set this up here once again, making sure that this is not twisted, and we'll go ahead and just set that up on there. Take our nut, I'm just going to start it for right now. I want to get the front trim piece kind of lined up. Now, before I actually tighten this down, don't forget we have this little trim piece that goes in here, and it's got a slot in it, so you can, let me move this out of the way, so you can feed the seat belt through that slot and then twist it and then just push it down into position and it'll click into place, and we're good there. Now we'll go down to the bottom. This here once again is a T50. Let me switch to my bits. And this will actually, you have the opening that's right here on the side of your seat down here. So if you'll kind of see where we're coming down, it goes right here. And there we have it. Let's do the other side now. Beautiful. Now we have this trimmed in. So now what we're going to do is our door seal plate back here. Before we do that though, I got to looking at it and I had neglected that our seat belt here actually needs to go in first because it kind of goes up underneath. And you'll see if I move this back, hopefully you can see that right there is where that actually is going to bolt in. So what I'm going to do is kind of slide this up into the carpet area. And start that fastener. There we go. And now just kind of tuck that carpet back in like so and see how it kind of covers that up. And then we'll slide a little trim cover that goes over that like that. Now, here's our trim piece here, our door seal. And you'll see how it has like these little locking tabs here. Those go in these black openings down in here. And then you have a piece here and a piece here that go into these openings here on the side trim. By the way, with these, to find out which one goes where, you'll have to look. Unfortunately, it's getting kind of dark, you can't see, but up here in this corner it says RH. So it'll say RH or left H, and that tells you where they'll go. So now we kind of have it generally lined up. We'll just kind of turn around, set it down in there. I'm going to start with pushing it in on this end, and then I'm just going to slowly kind of work my way along and just get a feel for when it like falls into the opening. There it goes. So we have that pushed in. Now just lightly push that one down. Come down over here and line that one up and just push down. And you'll see I didn't have to bash on it or hit it. You just lightly press on it and you'll be set. So now those are in there. You'll see too the sill plate sits on top of the weather stripping. That way you don't damage it getting in and out of the truck. This one here is done. Let's move to the front. So now we're up here to the passenger side front, and I'm going to try and do this from in the cab so hopefully you can see it. The first thing you're going to need to do is this little kick plate that has your fuel reset opening up here at the front. You'll see it has these two little locking tabs. Those will go here and here. And now we have that installed up there in the front, and we have it here. Same principle as with the rear. If we turn this over, you see it has these 5 tabs. Those line up with the 5 little black openings down inside of there. By the way, on this one, it's back here where it's labeled RH, or this one, yeah, it has a big R and then an H down below. The other side will have the L. You have this tab that locks in here, this tab that locks up in there, and we'll go ahead and just start. Sorry, I'm working backwards. Here we go. By the way, the best way to tell that is these little tabs that stick out face the inside. Once again, I'm working backwards here, so everything is opposite of what I'm used to doing. So we'll line that up, and now we'll find our space back here, and then we'll just try and lightly work our way along. There we go. So I push that one in, and you see I'm just pushing down. I'm not bashing on it, and they're just starting to go into place. We don't want to break them. And you'll see those all went together. The only thing we don't have matching yet is this up there on the end, and there we have it. So we now have this door sill plate is installed. Now we can go over to the driver's side. Just a quick note, I had forgotten to mention this earlier. Don't forget to put your black tab back in the hole here that goes into the floor to just kind of help hold the carpet. You have one that goes here, and on the exact same opposite side, you have one on the driver's side. First, we're going to start off with our kick plate up here, and you'll see we have one tab here and one up here. This one, let me pull this back, hopefully I don't regret, goes here, and then the bottom one's going to go into that one there. So I'll put this back on because this goes over that trim piece. We're here onto our driver's side door seal plate, and once again I'm going to have these little tabs. Sorry, see how these tabs stick out? These are facing into the cab, so I'm just going to flip it up so you can see. So we have these 5 tabs. They go into the 5 black openings here along the bottom. The other one's over here, and then naturally these end tabs are going to go in here. With this particular one here, it's marked right smack in the middle, and here on the end with an LH. That way you know which one's which. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to start on one end and try and work our way down. Well, since we have the camera in position and we're already over here, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our side piece here. And for that, I'm just going to pull our little weather stripping out here a bit, and you'll see how it has these 1, 2, 3 tabs, and those will go into here, here, and up here. I'll just press that in nice and easy, and then put our trim back in. And then next, since we're here, I'm going to get into a better position. We're going to go ahead and reinstall our fuse panel. I'm sure you've done this before and know how to do it, but you have 4 fasteners on the corners. You just put them in, push them in, and give them a 90-degree turn. So we'll keep moving, and now what we're going to do is reinstall our glove compartment. And I took the fasteners out and I reinstalled them back up in here just so I knew where they were. There's 3 of them. They're a 7mm. So you'll see now we have these little locator taps here on the end, and they will go up underneath in here, here, and here. And then you'll just go ahead and put your fasteners in there and tighten those up. Once you have those done, you'll lift it up and then you'll press in on these 2 sides, like so. There you have it. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up video 2 here on our 3-part series. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link right up here for you to get you over to video 3 where you can join me. And in that video, we're going to be getting all the seats put in. We're going to get the dash put back together. We're just going to kind of start to finalize things, as well as I'm going to show you some kind of cool upgrades that I did to my truck since I was doing this project and had everything out. And I'm going to share those with you and show you maybe some ways that you can help improve your truck and make it work better for you. Let's move on to video 3.